brought to you by the Wicked and Remnant Koalition. For the 12 tribes scattered worldwide. Woolly head, dark skin, son of the most high Yah. Sing! Come on back here. Come on. I better get your money tonight. It's meaningless to struggle and fight. Loosen up your bones too tight. It's okay. It's alright. Here's a message from the 12 lost tribes. The folk can make you sad, baby, stop crying. I make fish without fish, start frying. I know you like it once you hear them, stop lying. If you don't good, the more you better just try. It's okay, it's alright, yeah, it's alright, oh.
Shalom, 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 shalom to all of you, my Heavenly Father's children. Welcome in the room. Welcome to the Awakening Remnant Koalition. And once again, we go into the Holy Bible to teach it the way it was designed to be taught, to help wake up the remnant of the house of Israel worldwide, that we might return to our King and return to our covenant, and that we would be ready to meet him when he returns to gather us. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. It's good to be in the room. If y'all can see the Morehyosh okay and hear me okay, would you be so kind as to place a 12 for the 12 tribes of Israel? Let me take a little sip of this well water and look in the chat to see if anybody is in the room with the Morehyosh tonight. Let me see. Woo, I saw a blue ring. Look like Gia. Shalom. Who else we got? Bruce is in the house. Yourself. Queen is here. Boy, Tyreek. I couldn't read that name, but it went by fast. Z is in the house. Z, I see you put up another video. You get a point for that. I'm going to give you a point for that. You need to start putting up way more than that. We're in the last days. But you do get a high mark for the one you did. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. If y'all haven't seen them, they are, I think she's posting them on Facebook and maybe Instagram, but wherever they are. Hallelujah. It's good to see you in the room. These messages must go forth to the four corners of the earth. Our people have been held in the dark long enough. Matter of fact, we've been held in the dark too long. Now it's time to come out of darkness and walk in the light. I told you yesterday, we're not going to do a lot of reviewing today. But if you've been following the series, I'm dealing with this all important theme, and that is salvation. What it means to be saved, and what I'm teaching is how do we, quote unquote, get saved. And there's only two camps out there. Well, there's a million camps, but there's a truth. And there's one biblical way, and then there's man-made doctrine. So tonight, I want to show you all some things, because we've done this. I'm not going to review it. First time in the room, shalom, I'm Dr. Yoshiyahu Dawid Ben Israel at the Awakening Remnant Koalition. It's affectionately called the ARK. We are a full-time ministry. How do we survive? Through the tithes and the offerings of the people that are being blessed by the ministry. So if you are in the room for the first time, shalom, which means hello, and also welcome and well-being and wholeness and all that. It's a wonderful Hebraic salute to you, and shalom. I want you to know that if this is your first time, you are actually coming in the middle of a series of messages that I've taught on this. And so you might want to go back and check a couple of those videos out where I started in Luke chapter 10, dealing with the parable, which is of course going to be the parable of the Samaritan. So I'm going to get back into that. But for tonight, I want to show you something that we left off last night. I want to jump right into it. And that is proving in the scriptures that salvation, biblical salvation, has always involved doing something on our part, as well as Yah doing something on his part. It has always been that way. And I've been teaching this and showing this because in the Christian church, they told you that salvation meant you didn't have to do nothing. And that do nothing doctrine is one of the first of all, it's probably the greatest doctrine, as wicked as it is. It's the greatest doctrine that's ever been taught. It's the one doctrine that everybody in church knows that doctrine. Right? That you don't have to do nothing. And of course, that's not true. And so I begin to show that salvation has always been a part of what you do. It never is void of that. And what you do does not take away from the finished work of Hamashiach. So tonight, I have to go into a teaching mode tonight, because this series has created a buzz in the world. Everybody like, man, what is he talking about? So I'm like, you know what? I need to slow down and lay down some principles, because some pig-meat-eating preachers are now tuning in. Because somebody called their pastor and say, you need to listen to Morehyosh. And they said, man, listen to that. Man, he done lost his mind. He crazy, blah, blah, blah. But they sneak listening. Shalom, I know you in the room. Even if you don't put up a 12, 100, 1,000, don't say, man, just sit there in the sneak listening section like I don't know you there. You in the sneak listening section. So today is dedicated to you. Yes, to the pig-meat eating preachers, deacons, ushers, even to the alphabet boys and the choir on the keyboards and all of that. It's dedicated to everybody who believes that you don't have to do nothing to be saved. I'm going to talk about that. Why? Why not lay it out? Why not bring that doctrine into the light so that it could be made manifest so we could see whether or not it holds water. Let's not just believe it. Let's expose the doctrine. Let's see what it's about, and let's see if it stands the test of the scriptures. Not your pastor, not your college, not your seminary. Now, I am Dr. Yoshiyahu. I do have a doctorate. I am a biblical scholar, not only by letters, but by scholarship itself, by study. And Yah called me and separated me for this business. All right. So the first thing we got to understand before we move forward, what time is it? Okay. Before we go deep, I need to talk to the world about something. You administrators, y'all going to be working tonight. Let's start off. Some of y'all who've been to my to our meetups and things like that, most of the time we try to start them off like this. But I'm kind of taking the meetup to the world because we're in the last days and somebody need to hear this tonight. Can't wait around for the meetup. So I want to just start off with something. The first thing I want you to know, and this is everybody that's watching the Moreh, the very first thing we need to know is that the King James Version Bible, or any version of the Bible, I don't care what it is, if it's not in Hebrew, it is a translation. Just get that. We're not going to go deep with that. Just know that. Because when I was young, the Christian church taught, ain't but one true Bible, and that is the King James Version Bible. But then they say, what is it called? The Authorized King James. Just the idea that the word authorized is put in there, it ought to raise a red flag. Who authorized the Torah? You heathens going to hell. Woo-wee! But I ain't got time to deal with that. So you got the original, then you got the authorized and all that. Then you have campers out there, once again, lying wonders, telling the world that the King James Version Bible 1611 is the only biblical authorized Bible that we should read. You going to hell for that too. See, I operate among real biblical scholars. I do. I know y'all don't understand that. I know some of them are still blind completely to Hebrew. But when I got a chance to hang out with some of my quote unquote pastor friends that I was trying to explain to them the truth that Abba Yah was showing me, one of the things they said to me was, the first time we heard any of the Hebrew Israelite preaching, the first thing we heard was these Negroes out here talking about ain't but one Bible, King James Version 1611. So we immediately just turned them off. We knew the whole movement was ignorant and stupid and dumb if they believed that. And I said, hey man, you know I ain't with that. I don't know who them Hebrews are about the only authorized version 1611. Listen, let me go on record to tell you this. Number one, I'm not a member of no black Hebrew Israelite camps or affiliation. Most of them fellas out there are just like church. They don't know the Bible. They don't know history. They don't know doctrine. They just out regurgitating what their teacher taught them, and the teacher taught them wrong. They all came out of the same school. Woo! No. Us biblical scholars, we found out when we was little kids that this ain't the only word. This is a translation. So point number one, your Bible that you hold, You speak English. So you read, most of you speak English or whatever language you speak. So you read a Bible in the language that you speak. It doesn't mean that it was written in that language. Ooh, I had to fix that. If all y'all understand that, put a 1,000 in the chat. Let me get a sip of water. It's a translation. I don't care what it is. It's a translation. The Bible was written in Hebrew. Just know that. It was not written in English. It was written in Hebrew. Hebrews are brown, Afro-Asiatic people. They from East Africa. It's an East African book. That's what Asia means, East, and Africa. And I know that's not the original name, but the continent we know today as Africa is where this book is from. So immediately you got to understand that the writing is Hebrew, it's Hebraic, which is one of the it is one of the languages. Hebrew is the oldest language, well, based on the Bible, in the world. Semitic language. Now watch. It's also not in Greek. So we got two levels. The English is not the real definition. And they taught us that the New Testament was written in Greek because white people was trying to get credit. It's not true. So it's not true at all. They've already debunked that in the higher levels of learning. That lie has already been exposed. Now they still teach the lie to get money, but they already know that that's been done away with. That was done away with like 15, 20 years ago. They stopped believing that in higher education. Once we were able to study linguistics and once we were able to research the languages of the Bible, we realized that there was no Koine Greek, no common Greek, no weird Greek out there, that somehow that's the way the New Testament was written. That's how come it sounds different than other Greek languages and all that. We found out that all that was made up. None of it was true. It's all false. We found out when we started studying Hebrew that the New Testament that y'all say is the New Testament was originally written in Hebrew by Hebrew people. And therefore, in order to understand it, you have to understand it the way the Hebrew writer would have been writing it. You can't understand the Bible the way a European, a Greek, or a Roman, or any other Europeans or heathens from other nations. They would not understand or know anything that we're talking about. Why? Two totally different cultures. There's the Western idea of thought versus the Eastern idea of thought. One is abstract and one is concrete. So the Greeks did not write our Bible either. Our Bible was not written by the heathens. The Bible was written by Hebrews that were Israelites primarily from the 12 tribes of Israel, seeing everything through the lens of Israel. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Through the lens of Abraham. Right? Through the lens of Enoch or Noah. Through the lens of Adam. So you cannot take, because they taught you so wrong. You cannot take a different culture, a different people, a different language, a different mindset, a different spiritual disposition. You can't take that and say that this different thing is real and the original is false. Listen, you go to hell for that. Don't do it. Don't do it. And of all of the translations that are out there, the English translation is the furthest away from the original. All right? So you have if you got a Bible, right? And you have the original Bible is in Hebrew, which is this is the way we're supposed to understand it. Once it gets translated into another language, say like Greek, right? The actual meaning of the book is probably reduced down to just a few letters because it's lost what they say in translation. If you go further than that, to even like English, it's lost even more in translation. It's way down here. So in order for us to understand the Bible, we can't understand it down here at the bottom. In order to understand what the scriptures were saying, we got to go through the English, back through the Greek, and up back to the original language, which is Hebrew. Because there's Hebrew people who wrote it. Did that make sense? If it did, put a 10,000. Put a 10,000. I just want to make sure we rolling together. All right? So, the original is Hebrew. After that, every time it's translated, it loses meaning. By the time it gets down to you and I, in English, the meaning is not only, in some cases, completely lost, but unfortunately, in some cases, the meaning is completely changed. Here's our problem. Most of us, we like what it changed into. We don't like the original. Most of us who, I'm going to give you an illustration. So most of us who've been around a while and lived long enough to see their hair turn colors, you know what I'm saying? We grew up around, when we were younger, almost all the music we listened to was original. The artists were writing original pieces, right? And it was funky. It was excellent, high level artistry. And then let's say my age and older, when I got like into high school and say like early college, the music started becoming it started getting nastier and gross. One, just sickening stuff that we wouldn't sing about back in the day. But it also started getting terrible. It started becoming monotonous. It started becoming very it started becoming like terrible. I just put it like that. And what people who started realizing that they were losing it, so what they would do is that they would go back and they started doing a thing called, they started sampling. They started sampling. That means taking a little bit here and a little bit there because they didn't have any creativity. So they went to like James Brown and they sampled Clyde Stubblefield's drum solo, the funky drummer, because they can't play the drums like Clyde. And so they just took a little sample and then they built an entire song around a sample. And then people started liking the song thinking it was original. But all of us said, y'all should go back and hear they would hear the remix. We would be telling them, hey, y'all need to go hear the original. And they're like, what do you mean the original? Because they have fallen in love with the fake. So then you show this is where that sound came from. This is where that came from. This is where this dude got that. This is where these people got that. Why? Because we were around when it was the original. We heard it for the first time. And therefore, we are not impressed with what we hear today. I put it like this, I ain't impressed with nothing we hear today because everything is a regurgitation and it is a perversion. But if we go back to the original, you're going to see that which was at one point, whatever the genre was, it was pure because it was first. I'm not saying that the music was holy. I'm just making a point. When it comes to the Bible, most of us have never heard the original. And because we've never heard the original, we have allowed the counterfeit. We have allowed the counterfeiter to just sample the Bible. So he doesn't use the whole Bible. The heathen don't use the whole Bible. The heathen doesn't use history, culture, language, and all that. No, the heathen majors in just sampling our book. But even when he samples our book, he samples it wrong. But he teaches it to our pastors and our preachers, and then they take the sample and teach the sample wrong to our people. Do you understand that? So now you not only got a sample, but the sample you got has been like remixed, and now it ain't even what the man said. Well, how do you know, Moreh? I learned the original. Once I learned the original, I was like, oh, these heathens is off the hook changing Yah's word like they do. If you're still rolling with the Moreh, put a 100,000 in the chat. You already got more education in 30-something minutes. How long have you been in the room? You got more education just now in 30 minutes than you got in 30 years sitting in that Christian church. You have no idea how much you just learned. If you were able to receive it and take it inside of you, you're on your way to having your eyes open, and you're also on your way to getting out of Babylon, this Babylonian religion that we stuck in. All right? So, let's get back. Let's look at the Bible now. The Bible was not written in English. So our English definitions are not, oh, by the way, this is going to sound simple, but it's not simple. The Bible is made up of words. And the words that Yah chose to put in his word, he defined, he gave the definition to these words. Therefore, the biblical definition of a word is the right definition. Put that in the chat. Everybody put that in the chat. The biblical definition is the right definition. Put it in the chat. Let the world see that. That when the heathen comes up with a definition, we throw it in the toilet. We don't care about it. We used to. We used to study the English and we used to study the Greek. But now we found out that the English and the Greek definitions oftentimes disagree with the Hebrew. So we always take the Hebraic definition. We never say, let's go with the English definition or let's go with the Greek definition. We never do that. It's against biblical, proper biblical interpretation to use a different dictionary for his words. Especially English, because English is a witchcraft language. English is a perverted and defiled language. It's part of the curse that we were put into captivity, where we would learn a perverse tongue. We would learn. We would be speaking a language that in itself is dirty and nasty and mixed with a lot of trickery and witchcraft and all that, right? It was part of the curse because we had a pure language at one point. We had a pure language called Hebrew, but it was stolen from us. It was taken away. And by the way, what kind of wicked satanic demon beats you until you forget your own language? Whips and beats you until you forget your name, your ancestors. It was terrible. And these are the same people who gave you your Bible in English. I think I mentioned, matter of fact, I know I mentioned this online not too long ago. I have another pen. Oh, here we go. I mentioned this online the other day where I don't know if it was a young lady or a young man put in the chat. They said, you say that the Bible can't be altered, but yet you turn around and say that the names have been changed and this has been changed and whatever. And I had a knee-jerk reaction. I listened for it. I said, maybe this person is asking from the heart, so let me just leave the comment. But let me clarify it. When I say the Bible, I'm never talking about the English translation of it. When I say Yah's word can't be tampered with, I'm never talking about the English translation of the Torah. I'm never talking about the Greek translation. I'm never talking about the Septuagint. I'm never talking about the so-called Latin Vulgate. I'm never talking about none of that. When you hear the Moreh use the term Yah's word, and I say things like it can't be changed, can't be altered, it can't be stopped, I'm talking Hebraically. I'm only speaking about the Hebrew Bible, not these translations. Because if that was the case, all of this teaching I'm doing wouldn't mean nothing. If the translations were right, I wouldn't have to spend so much time clarifying stuff. You have to remember these translations are wicked because they're written by wicked people. Wicked in the Bible means is raw. The idea of raw is when you break it down as evil, it actually means dysfunctional. So once they started playing with the Bible in English, once they started doing weird stuff with our text in the English translation, they made it dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional to read a Bible where his name is Yahuwah and you don't say Yahuwah, you say the Lord. That's dysfunction. That's a dysfunctional reader. That's a dysfunctional student that is given a book that literally says, declare my name. And my name is Yah. And then you say, no, it's God or the Lord. You see the dysfunction? That's in the translation. But in Hebrew, there is no covering of Yahuwah. There is no covering of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh in Hebrew. Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh is written in the Hebrew text 7,000 times. There ain't no effort to cover Yahuwah's name in the Bible. It's the name of, don't do it more, but sometimes I have to. Why? It's the name above all names. It's the name that should be praised. It's the name that has to be glorified and edified. It's the name that's holy, is high and lifted up. It's the same name that every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess. So it's wicked and it's dysfunctional to write a translation and then change his name. To change his name from our king's name from Yahushua to white Jesus. That's not what the scriptures told us to do. We don't alter the name, but they did. And so we'll accept the change over the original. And I'm trying to tell you, The change is perverted. The change is nasty. The change is dysfunctional. I know that's swinging a heavy bat, but I'm trying to knock the ball completely out the park. If you're still rolling with the moral rate, put a 200,000 in the chat. Just explaining a basic principle that translations are not the same as the original, because there's evil translators, and the evil translators make evil translations. One of the confusing translations is the King James Version. Now, the only reason that the Moray uses it as much as I do is because I have, for the most part, been able to find and fix the confusion of these English translators, and that only happened by me going through it like 1,000 times. So once you go through it so many times, Hebraically, you can start to see where the people change it and why certain things are left out and not preached about and not brought to the surface, and why certain things were told to stay away from that, and that's done away with, and all that kind of stuff, right? Because especially in the so-called religion, which is a business called Christianity, it's not the following of Hamashiach. It is a business that was started 300 years later. If anything does not line up with their doctrines and their teachings, they tell you it's done away with. But when you actually study the scriptures, you'll find out that the Bible is never done away with. Nothing, no part of it. It can't, because it's one continuous scarlet thread. Yeah, I felt something there. From Genesis to the Revelation, it's a wonderful tapestry. It's a wonderful picture. And you can't pull out certain things you don't like and then think you're still going to arrive at the right picture, at the right place with the right message. It doesn't work. So the translations have been altered. But the actual Torah in Hebrew, the original Hebrew, has not been altered. Now, later on, yes, some people have tried to change some stuff because, again, translators are evil. But the actual originals, or the ones that were closest to the original, they all say the same thing. And I know this is going over some of y'all head, but it has to. You'll understand it better later. But for now, if you were a Hebrew scholar, you would know what I'm saying is true. The way our ancestors were told to write the scriptures, right? And to copy it down and all that, was so precise that they had to count the letters. Y'all don't believe that, huh? So when they finished like writing the book of Genesis, they didn't just count every word. They had to count every letter. And if they came up with more, one letter more, one letter less, they had to go back and redo the whole thing. That's the high level of translation, or I should say of copying, that went on among our people. When we copied something before there was computers and copy machines, our scribes and elders counted every letter and made sure. I'll just give you an example. They will say at 144,000 There has to be a yod there. Is it? And they would count them letters. They get to that number 144,000. They say, yep, it's a yod. Okay, let's keep going. That's how it was copied originally, before the translators started taking liberties with our words and with our Bible. So, giving you that history, that there's a difference between copying the original language, copying, from one copy to another, versus translation, where they're not trying to copy exactly, they are trying to translate it into a language that you can understand. And in the process of the translation, these translators put their biases in. That's a lot. But I had to say it. I have to put it out to the world, because many of you all are going to wonder, where do I get the nerve to stand on this truth so strong? And the reason why you're asking that, number one, because my skin is brown. I get it. I have to deal with that with you guys all the time. If I was a white man out of one of these colleges teaching the same exact thing, you'd be like, woo, did you hear what that white man said? And y'all be telling everybody. So I have to I know I got to fight through that, and it's okay. But just understand, whether or not my skin is pink or whether it's brown, the truth that I'm telling you right now is the truth. All right, so all of these are translations, and the translators had biases, like not calling Yahuwah by his name, or changing certain names and making those names sound European, and then leaving other names and letting them sound Hebrew. I'll give you, like, every time there's a star character, they always make him sound white and European. Just like, say, King David, they change his name to his name biblically is Dawid. It's Dawid. It means beloved, right? It's Dawid. But they change it to David. You see that? There's Adam, but then there's who? See, you was going to say Adam and Eve. No, her name's not Eve. But the mother of all living, they couldn't stand that person being a black person, a brown person in their eyes. So they changed her name to Eve. Her name is Chua. And if you say Adam and Chua, your brain ain't going to go to Europe. When you say Adam and Chua, your brain going to Africa. That's Chua. And I could do it with everything in the Bible that they've done it. I could do this so many times. Right? But we're not going to do that right now. Our Gospels, they don't say Netanyahu. They say Matthew, European. It's not Marcus. They say Mark, European. Not Lucas. They say Luke. It's not Yahrahn. They changed it and say John. So everything they did was to make it white and European. There's changes all in here, which, according to the Hebrew, we're not supposed to change nothing. Okay? So, that's a foundation. All right. This is a translation, and our job is to go to the original, because that is how Yah is judging the world. He's going to judge the world on his own word, not on the words that somebody decided to translate. His words are the words that will be brought into the judgment, because his words, because his word don't change. His word's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. It's his word that became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. That's what the Apostle Paul was trying to tell us when he said, Yehoshua HaMashiach, the same yesterday, today, and forever. He was trying to get your mind to see that this is Yah's word made flesh, because Yah himself said, I'm the same. I don't change. And then, of course, Yahrahn said that he introduced himself to me as the Word of Yah in the Revelation, right? His name, the Word of Yah. So the Word will always remain solid, the same. Original is going to be, is the test. The original is the judgment. The original is what we will be judged by, not what somebody translated. So I want to lay that out because I want to show you a verse in the Bible. I want to show you Ephesians chapter 2. I want to show you 8 and 9, right? I'm going to show you 10 too, but I just want to show you this because I want to explain in this short video how a different dictionary definition of words can change the meaning of a verse altogether and as a result change the doctrine. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to prove tonight how using the same words but a different dictionary can not only change the meaning of the verse, but it will change the doctrine that was made around this verse. It'll change it and expose the doctrine to be a lie. And one of the things that people were saying last night, I could hear y'all talking. He ain't mentioning Ephesians 2 9. He keep talking about, hey, you got to work, you got to do something, you got to know. What about Ephesians 2 8 9? I already hear you. And I'm not backing down from nobody. Boy, you stepping fetching preachers and heathens watching the moon, right? Do you really think that I would come on in this broadcast in front of the whole world and not know this whole Bible? You think I would take a chance in having my messages exposed in front of the whole world by people who don't even know the Bible? No, I already know the Bible. And I already know where you're going. So I got to go there before you get there. So that before you tell your church not to listen to the Morehyosh, I now explain Ephesians 2 8 and chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. Because I'm gonna also show you verse 10. So let's do it. Now look, I'm gonna be over my 1 hour mark, administrators. You know the Morehyosh love you, but I'm gonna need you tonight. If you can stay in the room, I really do. I know I ask y'all a lot, but I need you to stay tonight. I need you to stay in the room. And I need you to help me out. Now watch. Ephesians 2 8 and 9. Here it is. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. English. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God. This English. Not of works, lest any man should boast. Right? So let's just stop right there. They say right there is the doctrine that you don't have to do nothing. Paul clearly said not of works. And Morehyosh, you coming here talking about of works. Paul say not of works, and you saying of works. So which one is it? You or Paul? You pig meat eaters, hear the Morehyosh. It's me and Paul. Paul's my cousin. We're not against each other, we with each other. Paul's from the baby tribe of Benjamin. Paul's my cousin. We're not against each other. We agree 100% on what we're talking about. Your translators are twisted Paul here by giving you words with definitions that are different. And I'm going to prove them tonight. We're going to prove it tonight. I just had a thought that I'm gonna do it with you all. Okay, I'm gonna walk with you all so I can make sure that we stay on the same page together. First thing I want to do is let's just prove this word. Let's define this word grace. All right, let's just do that. So I'm just gonna pull up my search engine, just a regular search engine. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, I'm online. I'm just gonna type in definition. If this don't work, I've already printed it out. Oh yeah, I've already printed everything out just in case this don't work. I just show you the printout. But for now, I want to do it with you. Definition of grace. Hit go. Now, I know everything is not the same, but let's just type in the first one. So the very first thing it says is unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration or sanctification. Number two, approval or favor, stated in good graces. I can go down to three. A charming or attractive trait or characteristic. Definition number will be a pleasing appearance or fat, ease of suppleness. Number four, used as a title or address or reference for a duke, duchess, or archbishop. Oh my. Grace. Number five, a short prayer at meal asking a blessing or giving thanks. I think I'm making my point about grace in English. Grace is plural. Three sister goddesses in Greek mythology who are the givers of charm and beauty. Is that how y'all say? Is this what you are saying that you saved by? Because this is the English definition, right? So it's obvious that ain't the right word, right? That's not what Paul is using. He's not using that word. So Moray, but you don't know that he's using a Greek word, charis. All right, I'm gonna prove you lying on that too. All right, let's go back to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. We're going to use an interlinear Bible. I know y'all got to stay with the Moray tonight. It's going to be slower because I'm doing it with you. So here's the word. I know it's backwards on your screen, but that's okay. You guys can follow along. Interlinear Bible, they have the word here, grace, and you see the word keratai. You can click the definition. It's going to take you to charis, a noun, feminine. By the way, Grace was a goddess in Greek. Grace was a goddess. I know. Remember in English it said the sisters. Grace was a goddess, but that's fine. Okay, so you see the word charis, acceptable, benefit, favor, gift, grace, liberty, pleasure, thanks, grace. Also, favor, thanks, credit, gracious work, thanks, gracious. So even this definition is weird when it comes to salvation. For by thanks you are saved, so by favor, so by credit, so by gracious work. Which one is it? I'll show you. It comes from Carol, graciousness. This is an exhaustive concordance, as gratifying. Maury, where are you going with it? I'm just trying to show you that this is what the Greeks thought when they think of grace. This is what they teach you in church. This is what they tell you how you got your salvation. They're using this word to put that doctrine out that you don't have to do nothing. This is the word that they're using. And I'm giving you the definitions of where they get it from. The cognate of it is favor, disposed to, incline, favorable toward, leaning toward, share, benefit. Properly, grace, charis, is preeminently used of the Lord's favor. You see that? These heathens don't say Yahuwah. All right. Freely extended to give himself away to people because he is always leaning toward them. Did you see that? This is the Greek. This is their way of making that Greek word biblical in their mind. Now, on this next one, I want you to watch the trickeration. Watch. Charis, or grace, answers directly to the Hebrew term Kanah. Do you see that? The Hebrew term Kanah. But they give you the number. 2580. Kanah. And this is what they said, because they know you're not going to research no deeper than this. They're going to say, oh, this is equal to the Hebrew word, because I told you that they got, the New Testament was written out of the Old. It was written, the Greeks got it from the Hebrew. That's why every time you look up a Greek word, they got to always tell you that they got it from a Hebrew word. Right? Now they're trying to say that their Greek word is identical to our Hebrew word, Kanah. All right, let's find out if that's true. All right, let's see. Both refer to God freely extending himself, reaching to people because he is disposed to bless them, to be near them. It's sometimes rendered thanks, but the core idea is favor or grace. Did you hear what they said? The core idea. All right. But let's do what they didn't think we were going to do, because they don't know that they had a real teacher that was going to show up. Dr. Yoshiyahu Dawid Ben Israel. Let's watch. Let's click it. And we get Chen. For you Hebrew students, it's Het final noon. You see the original word, Het noon. Right? What part of speech is it? Masculine. What part of speech was it in Greek? Feminine. Maury, no way. Alan already told y'all. This is why you should support the ARK. This kind of information and education, you ain't getting that nowhere. This This is one of the few places that you're going to get this ever, anywhere on planet Earth. And what do we ask for in return? What you're supposed to do, tithes and offerings. Did you see it? Let's keep going. I'm not done. All right. So here's het noon. So you have het, final noon. I know y'all can't see that. Oh my goodness. Let's bring it down some. Let me see what you can see. About right here. Okay. So you have the het and final noon, right? Now look at what they said in the Bible. Masculine can, they say favor, gracious, pleasant, precious, well-favored. These are all the ways it's translated, right? Watch this. Watch this. Gracious, graceful, adornment, charm. And then it says word origin. And then chen, to be gracious. All right. Let's click it. Here we go again. To bend, to stoop in kindness to an inferior, to favor, to bestow. Right? As compared to Hannah. Oh. Hannah. Maury, what? Oh, yeah. So grace has its connection to Hannah. Chen and Hannah, which means what? To encamp, to pitch tents, to dwell, to rest. Did I go too fast? So did you see what they did? They kept talking about, I'm talking about these heathens, because you Hebrew students already know how we break the words down. But these heathens kept talking about favor and graciousness and this and that and all that, right? But it took us, 3 clicks to get to Hannah, to find out that it actually means to encamp. It actually means to pitch tents. It means to dwell. And then, of course, they put another one, to rest. Camp, pitch tents, to dwell, to rest. Can you see how different that is from just saying grace, or you're gracious, or 3 sisters, or favor, or graciousness, or subtlety, or whatever else words they were trying to use? You can just see it. Paul was only using Hebrew. And I know you Hebrew students, would y'all hold on? We didn't need Strongs to get to camp. I just did it because I wanted you to see how we can get there, but we really just needed these 2 letters. That's all we needed. Once we saw a het, We already knew that that was a tent wall. We already knew that this is a wall or a fence. Let's see. We already knew it. We can just look at the letter. We don't need the heathen to interpret this for us. We can just look at this one letter. We already know it's a tent wall. We already know it's a wall. We already know it represents a place to dwell, separation, because we know the meaning of the letter. We also know final noon, but just say this, the noon looks like this. Oh, y'all can't see that. The letter noon in Hebrew looks like this when it's not in its final form. And it already represents the seed. It represents activity. It represents life. We don't need Strongs to do this for us no more. We don't have to click 7 times to get to the meaning. We know that the word hen is a tent wall. We also know that the letter noon is the seed activity life. We put these 2 letters together and we get the wall of protection. The wall of protection that protects the seed. The wall that separates the seed. The wall that is necessary for the seed on the inside of the wall to continue. It's the wall that has been set up by Yah in order that the seed can have life and life more abundant. That's our idea. That's the biblical way of the word grace. It's a tent wall of protection. Now watch the 2. For by unmerited favor, for by beauty, for by subtleness, so by thankfulness, so by him remembering you, you are saved. All those English words and all that Greek word, Paul ain't saying none of that. Paul is not talking about nothing that the English said, nor nothing that the Greek said. Paul is talking about this. He's saying, for by the wall of protection, you are saved. Woo! Teaching like this, y'all making me teach like this in the middle of the week? I need a raise. Shoot. Somebody ought to send a little extra gift to the ARK. Hit the like button. Share the video. Paul, do you see the change? We ain't even got to the next word yet. Can you see the difference? In English, for by unmerited favor you're saved. By a favorable wind you're saved. By graciousness you're saved. By him having favor on you without no reason. That is not what he's saying. Paul is saying by this wall of protection, the seed is saved. That's chen. That's chana. There's no such thing as unmerited favor, but there is such thing as hana. Which is a wall of tents. Now, let me show you how this, you ain't got to do nothing doctrine. You already saw it enough. But you see the do nothing doctrine, like to be saved, you don't have to do nothing. You already see that it's false because it's not English, it's not Greek. He's talking about here. He's talking about walls. And just because of time, I just want to act like you guys are looking at tent walls from the top. Like if you're looking down from the sky and say these are like the top of a tent and you're looking down, right? Lord, how you get this? Most High showed it to me. I studied. I talked to people who understood the language. And I asked questions because I needed to show the house of Israel. So if you're looking down from the sky, and these are tents, right? And every one of these tents create a wall. So here's a wall of tents right here. Here's a wall of tents right here. Here's a wall on this side. And here's a wall. So you can see the wall is right here. The edges of the tent make the wall. The people are inside the tents. Each tent has a door that faces inward, like this. So that the people come in and out of the tent. When they come out of the tent, they enter into the courtyard. You know what I'm saying? Enter into this courts with praise. No, I'm not going to do that right now. But they enter into the courtyard, which is inside the tents. Can y'all see that? I just wanted to show you something. If you can see that, put a 500,000. Let me just see if anybody can understand that inside of here is a courtyard. The tents make up a wall of protection. Why? Because if you were out here somewhere, outside the tent, so this is you, and you just kind of like outside the tent, right? You were being outside the tent represented danger or lost, right? But if this person could get inside, could find his way back into the courtyard inside of the tent, this is called safe or salvation. The Hebraic mind only thought in two ways when it came to salvation. Anything outside the walls of the tent was lost. Anything inside the walls was saved. More, did you really break it down like that? Yes, that's how they live. The whole concept of the house of Israel was you inside, you good. You outside, you not. You inside, you blessed. You outside, you cursed. Inside, you are protected. Why? Because everybody in these tents was your cousins. They were your uncles. They was them big brothers. You know what I'm saying? Pops was there. Grandpa was there. All of the men ran these tents. We didn't have no female gods. We didn't worship. We didn't put the women at the door of the tent, at the gate of the tent. No, our men were at the door of our tents. Our men stood watch all day and night. Our men took turns on guard duty. Our men made sure that everybody inside of the walls of the tent were taken care of, that were looked after. Once they got there, they were safe. Paul's whole argument in the Ephesians is, Negroes, y'all been outside the tent. Y'all been scattered. You've been separated from the Commonwealth of Israel. Y'all been way out here. But by Yah's tent, you have salvation. That's what the word grace is. That's why I don't deal with these pig-eating preachers. I know they don't go this deep with that word because they stop at Greek. They don't go to the Hebraic word. And once you see the Hebraic word Hannah, know that it's connected to Chen. You don't even really need a definition if you know the letters. Then you automatically see that it's the wall, it's the tent walls that protect you automatically. They save you. Now, keep the mindset of the tent, right? We're going to do something different. We're going to go to another word. For by grace are you saved. What's the next word he says? Through faith. Right? Now, because of time, y'all, I know y'all don't want me to just do the same thing I did with grace. Because if I did, y'all be here all night. I can show you the same thing, that the heathens have no idea what faith is. I can show you the English definition of faith, and you're gonna be like, what are they talking about? They don't know. So then you go and say, all right, well, let me look at let me go back one, sorry. So here is the word that they translated for us, faith, from pistios or pistos. You go and find that the root of that is pistis. Pistis means assurance, belief, faith, fidelity. Can you draw assurance, belief, faith, fidelity? No. It's not concrete, it's abstract. So they say that is persuasion or credence, morally conviction of religious truth, or truthfulness of God or religious teacher, reliance upon Christ for salvation. Woo-wee. So this is what they say is faith, consistency in such profession, a system of religion. Okay, y'all. But where did you get the word from? What is the Hebrew word? Because it's in here. Hold on for a minute. Who just gave me a hey man? How you doing? Good. What, you got the receipts? Just leave it on the counter. You want the counter? Uh-huh. I got you. I need the money right now. Huh? I need it right now. Okay, but I'm making a video. Okay. Leave it on the counter. I'll hook you up in a minute. All right. All right. It's good to see you, baby. Good to see you too. All right, so we go to the Hebraic word, and for now, I know they're going to show it. Let me see here. Ooh, they just go on and on with this Greek, right? But eventually, they're going to have to get us to a Hebrew word, to a Hebrew link. But some of you already know. I think I passed it. What is the Hebrew word that we have for faith? Write it in the chat. If anybody knows the Hebraic word for faith, write it in the chat. Let me just see if you know. Of course. The Blue Riches was quick with it. Emunah. And let's spell that. Lord, I want to find. I know, because I just did this earlier. I just did this earlier. One of the, oh, and by the way, I think it's Habakkuk that Paul uses the word faith and he connects that to the Old Testament book, I think in Habakkuk, where it says, the just shall live by faith. So therefore, we know then that when Paul is thinking of the word faith, he's not thinking of the English. Ah, here it is. Wow. Ooh, that took me a long time. All right, hold on. Habakkuk. Yep, here it is. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. Let's get that. Oh, no. I'm sorry, that's not the one I want. But that's still the word. That's not the verse I want. But I need the verse that says, the just shall live by faith. If y'all get that, put it in the chat. Since I'm out here, I'm way out here now. Let me see if it's in the chat. What was it? Post it again. Habakkuk 2:4. Yeah. All right. Let's get that. Let's go to Habakkuk. I heard one say Habakkuk. There it is. All right. Toda Rabbah. So if Paul is using, when he used the word faith, he wrote a whole book based on this one line. The line comes out of Habakkuk, where it says that the just shall live by his faith. Then you gotta find out what Paul was thinking when he said the word faith, which is emunah. And you see a bunch of words again: set, office, stability, steady, truly, faithfulness, firmness, security. It has all these words, right? Emunah, emun, connected also to aman, which is true, which means firmness, steadfastness, fidelity. Firmness, steadfast. All right? And watch this. So that, you see what the word emunah, you see the word chen. The second word he uses is the word emunah. And of course, see if you can still see my hand. Yep. All right. And that represents a tent peg, or a nail, or a fastener. Now watch this. If I have a tent and let's say this is a tent wall, normally what you have to do with a tent is that you have to tie a line from the tent. Oh, this is kind of confusing. This is the side of a tent. You draw a line from the tent to the stake. So the stake is in the ground. So if I, so this part would be buried under the ground, right? So that this rope here is tied to the tent. And these things that are stuck in the ground have to do with that word faith. You see all those words, secure, fasten? It's because it is a nail. But notice, watch what he says. He says, for by grace, that means the wall of protection that you're safe. And then he says, through emunah. Why? Because if you don't have this that's connected to this collapses. Every year at Sukkot, every time a strong wind blows and people don't have the valve tied down tight, yonder they tent go rolling down the hill. Every year it happens. We're like, man, you didn't put man, I didn't think I needed it. You didn't think you needed what? I mean, the wind wasn't blowing, so you just put up your tent and you didn't tie it down. So therefore the tent blew away. Look at they laughing in the chat because it happened every year. Tents go rolling. We'd be like, hey man, you gotta put that valve in. Emunah makes it secure. Paul is not speaking random. He's giving you a picture of a house, of a tent. And he's saying your salvation is in this tent. By the faith, which is the nail that secures this tent. And now y'all starting to look at the nails in the hands. I know it's too deep, right? But for now, let's just stay where we are. So the nail is important. It's working. And I know what you're thinking. That nail ain't working. You a lie. You can't see it. Go talk to that nail though. And that nail will tell you, I'm yet holding on. You said, man, you act like you ain't doing that. He said, man, no, I'm holding on. Always, constantly, in the wind, against the rain, tornadoes. It don't matter. I got a job to do, and that is to what? Hold up the tent. I got to keep the tension. I got to keep it securely fastened. So the nail being securely fastened in the earth is what gives the tent its stability on the earth, which then provides for you and I a place to go in for protection. Now read it again. For by the wall of protection that Yahuwah has done, that's Yah's wall of protection, you are saved, you're rescued, you're safe through a foundation, through being securely fastened. And watch what he said. Not of yourself. What? Here's the point. You didn't make this. You didn't make this. And you didn't make this. That's what he's saying when he says not of yourself. You didn't make this tent. Why? You didn't make this house. You didn't make this nail. You didn't make this rope. This is the part when he said, this is the gift of Yah. His house is his gift. He built his own house. He laid down his own foundation. He securely fastened his own word. And then if you read Ephesians like it's supposed to be read, it starts off talking about, and you were adopted. More don't do that to him. I'm telling you, if you read it the way it's supposed to be read. Into his house. This is all figurative speech. Verse 4 of chapter 1. According as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. Yes. Before you was even thought of, he already had his house. Before you was even chosen, he already had his word. Why? Don't do that. Let me just keep going. Verse 5 says, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach, according to the good pleasure of his will. Now he's echoing the Psalms. Now he's echoing Deuteronomy. You're a royal priesthood. You're a chosen generation. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. He chose us. We could go on through all the prophets and find out that, oh my goodness, more. Oh yeah, everything is about the house, in the house or out of the house. And what he's trying to say is that the house is the gift. Now continue. Where he says, not of yourselves. What? You didn't build this house. This ain't your house. This is his house. Okay, that's enough for tonight. That's enough for tonight. Y'all stressing out there. I get it. It's overload. Especially when the Most High is revealing to you and trying to free your mind from the captivity that we were in and the captor's doctrine. It's a lot to take in. Because now you see the verse completely different. Now it doesn't mean, oh, you just don't have to do nothing and you saved and grace don't mean nothing but unmerited favor and faith means just trust and believe and not of yourself and all that. It doesn't mean that. Paul is talking totally in the whole book of Ephesians about the house and the tent. That's all he talks about. That's the main theme of the entire book of Ephesians is the house. And I can prove that. The theme is the house. So he talks about it's the gift. It's the not of yourselves. You didn't build that house. It's the gift of Yah, not of works. Because this is where I was going in my thing. Not of works. What does that mean? That this house was not made available to you because of the work that you did. Did you see that? You didn't build his house. And because you didn't build this house, because you didn't put down the nails, you didn't build, when you were, and us Israelites, we're born in here. What does that mean? That means nobody can boast then. If you're born in the house, how you going to boast? Did you make the house or were you just born into it? You were born in it. And that's what takes away the boasting. That's what Paul is saying. So then, the not of works mean your works didn't do this. But you better get in here. I know that much. Now watch what he says. Verse 10. The word for is because, right? We are his workmanship. What? What does that mean? He not only made the house, he not only made the wall of protection, he not only made the courtyard, he not only made every individual tent, he not only made the house of Israel, he not only gave the house of Israel its faith, its emunah. He not only did all of that, but what Paul is trying to say, he also made you too. And let me tell you what he made you to do. What? For we are his workmanship created in Yahushua HaMashiach unto or for the purpose of what? Good work. Heathen going to hell. Telling us that we were made so we didn't have to do no work. And Paul is telling us the whole picture is about work. And then he said he even made you to work. You ain't got to do nothing. So why don't I do what I've been made to do? Everything else got to do what it's made to do, but I don't have to do what I've been made to do. The sun got to shine, but I don't have to shine. He made the moon, and the moon got to glow. But he made me in his own image, but I ain't got to do nothing. He made the firmament to give us oxygen, to regulate our temperature on this planet, and to allow us to live and move. But he made us, we ain't got to do nothing. So he made the flowers. He made the plants and the flowers to produce fruit, and they got to keep producing. But he made us, we ain't got to do nothing. He made the trees to go to work for us, and then he makes us to do nothing. Y'all gonna stop that doctrine? I'm done. Oh yeah, salvation is about works. 100%. In the next video, I'm going to show you what Hamashiach did for us. You know, everybody keep talking about the finished work of the Christian church say, the finished work of Christ. What was finished? What did he finish? And what does that word in Hebrew mean when he said finish? What did he actually finish? We'll talk about that tomorrow. If we can get back in the room, we'll talk about that tomorrow. It's a hint right here, but we'll get back into that tomorrow. So now you can start to see like, oh boy, okay, I'm trying to connect this to what Morehyosh was teaching about this lawyer that approached the Messiah, of course. He asked him, what must I do to have eternal life? What must I do? And then he said, what did Yah say? And how do you read it? And he quoted something that Yah said to the house, to his household, how they must live, how they must love him with all their heart, the mind, the soul, the strength. And then he said, and love your neighbor. Those are house rules. We're talking about them rules for in here. You want to stay in here forever? You want to live in forever? There's rules in here. Don't let that pigment eating preacher say that you can get inside the house that Abba Yah built and then run it any kind of way you want to. He is out of his mind.
We mobile, we grabbing all kinds of whips.
No, this is his house. And we got work to do in the house. We got work to do in the family. Say it like this. We got work to do in the kingdom. Because at the end, we're going to have to face the king and give an account of the deeds done in our bodies. I'm trying to tell you. But I got to go. Y'all stayed in the room a long time. I appreciate you administrators, all you workers. Hopefully this at least begin to stimulate some thought and make you think. Now you can see what Paul was talking about. You got a clear picture. Completely different than what you were taught all your life when it came to that verse. Now you know it ain't got nothing to do with you not doing nothing. I just feel compelled to say this. If you not in the house, you in some other house, you in Babylon, you running around out here somewhere, I'm going to tell you like my mama used to say, it behooves you to get in this house. It behooves you to get behind this wall of protection. Because the judgment is coming and the wrath of Yah is about to fall on everything outside of this. You need to get in here. You need to get into the place that was provided for you by Abba Yah. And that is that wall of protection. His house.
I need your beat to keep funky with me. I need your beat to keep funky with me. I need your beat to keep on.
Hallelujah. 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 If this message helped you, open your eyes, motivated you, even if it irritated you and make you want to study it deeper, you ought to give Yah praise. You ought to bless the work of the ARK with the tithe. Bless with the offering. Bless us with your prayers. We're praying for you too. And until next time, keep looking up for our redemption draws nigh. Shalom.